that the rest of your life is also the intensive. So when we finish here, the intensive continues, and it's called your life. Of course, that's just words. There's no such thing as your life. There's only life. There are deep-seated collective mind patterns that are also still active in you, and those mind patterns have no idea what this is all about. And occasionally you may find yourself being drawn back into those mind patterns which live on time, past and future, and you are being lost in a mind stream, not here anymore. And the mind stream will be talking, the inner dialogue, some kind of commentary. It may even be commenting on something that is being said here. Or it may be commenting on tonight's dinner, or tomorrow's problem. Because every problem is tomorrow's problem. Never know. Just the same as in the London pub, there was a sign, or it still is there, which says, "Free beer tomorrow." And then if you come back tomorrow, said, "I want my free beer," the innkeeper will point to the sign and it says tomorrow. And of course, that's how going to a pub in London can be a deep spiritual experience, because it shows you that tomorrow never comes. When it comes, it's today. The next moment never comes. When it comes, it's now. But nobody seems to know that, because the mind patterns, deeply conditioned collective mind patterns, live on past and future. All the movement of thought in your mind is conditioned, of course, by the past. Whatever thoughts you think are to do with the language in which you think those thoughts, which in turn is a creation of thousands of years of collective past. So even the language already contains an enormous amount of past, the very structure of language, how you think in your language. And then the collective past of your culture and your surroundings that creates the kinds of thoughts that go through your head. And there is the personal past of your upbringing and your environment and your parents, and there's still the mum's voice in there somewhere, and the dad's voice is still in there somewhere, and other voices are in there talking. And it's all past. It's the movement of thinking, content of your mind. And when people say, "my life," they are referring to the movement of thought in my head. The thought forms that are going through my head is my life. Because apart from the thoughts in my head, there is no such thing as past. The only existence past has is as a thought in the head. Is that true? You have to examine and look carefully. Is that really true? But this is not, you don't find the truth of this through some complicated intellectual analysis. Is there past or not? Arguments for, arguments against. And then we can have an argument. You say, there is a past. And I say, no, I'm telling you there isn't. You better believe me. No, we don't need that. We can just look and see immediately. You just ask yourself, have you ever been there in the past? Or whatever ever happened in your life, was that now? Or was it ever the past? Of course, nothing can happen if it's not in the now. It can't. For anything to be implies now. Being implies now. And to be is the infinitive. Is the third person singular of to be in English. One might not think that because they look like different words. Or whatever you want in Dutch or in German. Also you have the infinitive. In German it would be sein is to be and ist is. So what's the connection? It's the same word. It just changed through frequent use. It looks as if it were a different word. But is and be are the same thing, and they are always inseparable from now. There is no is apart from now. Can't be. So nothing ever is in the past. For anything to is, to be, it must be now. So what we call past, when it so-called happened, it was the now, and when I remember it and talk about it now, it's still the now. There's no life apart from now. And then the incredible thing is, this verb to be has also a first person singular. And that looks like a completely different word again. I am. And I am is also inseparable from now. You cannot be anywhere except now. But nobody seems to know that, because everybody lives for something else. They live as if there was something much more important than now. And for most people it's called the future. And what we said about the past applies to the future. It does not exist, except as a thought in the head. Tomorrow, free beer, never comes. Because tomorrow is only a thought in the head. The next moment, a thought. Even to say that we are going to spend a few hours here tonight on a conventional level is true. But if you look deeper, in absolute terms, we are not. It's only always now. It's only when you start thinking and looking at your watch, then you remember, okay, we've been here for such and such a time and we are going to spend here another 2 or 3 hours. Oh my God, I can't, it's too much. So this only when you start thinking, the future suddenly appears. And of course it has its place in the practical realm, that's fine. But beyond that, it's a trap. It's an illusion. So there is only ever now. Past, the accumulation of past in the mind has become a kind of phantasm, a kind of entity, a mind created little thing that says I, me, mine, my, I. I like myself, I don't like myself, I love myself, I hate myself. I don't have a good relationship with myself, I must improve the relationship with myself. I wonder what's going to happen to me. What will happen to me? My life, it's not working out, my life. I have to do something about my life. It's really, so much has gone wrong in my life. So much. This wasn't what I expected when I was young. I imagined my life to be very different from where it is now. How could this happen? I'm missing out on life. Life is passing me by. Everybody else seems to be alive. I'm not. I don't have a life. So there is an entity there. One or two of you may have recognized something just now. I gave you just a few to choose from to recognize. There's certainly one that applies to one of you. I could go on for a whole hour, probably. So there is a little man or woman in here talking all the time and worrying about my life and won't stop talking. And this man or woman in the head has a history. It's made up of history. It's made up of mind content. It's made up of past accumulations from the so-called past, a conditioned entity called I, or at least it says I. And when it says I, it means me and my story. And I have an opinion of myself. It may vary. One day it may be quite good. And then something happens, and then my opinion of myself changes. I have a view of who I am, which again is the movement of thought. And it is quite normal to be completely identified with that movement of thought in your head and derive from it your sense of who you are. That's me and my life. So it's the identification with content or form, me and my life. So a sense of self derived from your so-called personal history. So we have this entity, the me or the I, and its past, made up of past, and it's what kind of state does it exist in? It's a state of very frequent unease, discontent, lack, something missing here in my life. What is it? Okay, start thinking. There's something missing in my life. Some people have not quite sure what's missing. Others know very well what's missing. I need a relationship, the man or woman that's my destiny to meet, and still haven't met him or her. When finally I become prosperous, then I will be free. I need this, I need that. And in the meantime, I need enlightenment. Because you've already seen all the other things didn't work. Okay, let's try this one last thing. And if that doesn't work, then I give up. Oh, maybe you're getting close to enlightenment. So this me is occasionally happy. Something good has happened. Or somebody has recognized you as a great person. And then the me says, I feel good about myself today. And then time passes, a few hours, and okay, it's no longer, that thing doesn't make me feel good anymore, it's wearing out, it wears off, and then something missing again. Restlessness, discontent, and then comes the question, the unconscious search comes, how can I fill up this restlessness and discontent? I've got to do something. Okay, go to some stimulus, loud music, something is happening. It feels more alive. And then you leave. Okay. What now? And of course the me is, for many these days, is very stressed because it needs to get to the next moment. And stress has become so widespread that the whole civilization is run by stressful people. Stress, or what does stress mean? Stress is normal, therefore it's not recognized as a mental disease. If everybody has the disease, you can't recognize it anymore as a disease. So stress is normal, but it is also insane. I usually equate normal with insane. If you doubt that, I would refer you to a history book, Human History. Or the news tonight on TV. So stress is, I need to get to the next moment, or the one after that, but in the meantime I'm here. It's the mental projection to there while I am here. Now, when you see how this works, I will act it out now because it's easier to see it. And you spend your whole life, a large part of your life like that, except when you're drunk or take some drugs. This is Amsterdam, so here you'd have a smoke. And when you smoke, you become a little bit free. I'm not advocating anything, but you become a little bit free of this incessant little me that's complaining and searching and looking for this or that and talking continuously in your head and never shuts up, and you are so identified with it you don't even know that there's a little thing in your head because you think it's you. You don't even, for most people they don't know that they have a thing in their head, they are the thing in their head. And it's a burden to live with, it's torture to live with that. It's never at ease, or very rarely at ease, so it needs occasionally to have a puff. And then it's quiet, it becomes a little bit, the voice becomes a little bit more calm. And you feel a little bit more alive. And you can even laugh, smile. Because the little me doesn't laugh that much. Its life is too serious. It's not that much to laugh about. I have serious problems. Or you drink. also a little bit of liberation from this incessant voice, and then you feel a little bit better, a little bit more life for a little while. You're not trying to get to the next moment. So is the secret of happiness, have we found it? No, not yet. Because you are falling below the movement of thought. That's one way of becoming free. You fall below thought. This is also the level where in mythology you have the so-called fool, who is an important figure in some tales. In the most recent manifestation of the fool is perhaps the Hobbit in Lord of the Rings, a very lovable creature, but he doesn't think that much. His mind is not highly developed. He is still below, largely below thought and identification with thought. And therefore in mythology the fool is closer to being than the ordinary mad human. He's also in some way less mad than the more highly developed human. And he has access, he is sometimes used as an instrument by life for important functions. The Hobbit has to do this big thing and he doesn't know much, and yet life uses him because he has a deeper connection with life. The animal has that connection too, the dog, the tree. They don't have an entity in their head that talks continuously and has a life and talks about my life and a problematic world. No, they just are. So when you take drugs or whatever, you experience a little bit of freedom, but you're moving towards sleep. A few more drinks and you drop off the chair. And in the meantime you had a little bit of freedom, but you were going. So we are not going this way, otherwise I would be distributing things to smoke here. First of all, how do we become free of this conditioned, uneasy, discontent, a lot of the time unhappy, a lot of the time complaining, a lot of the time thinking of him or herself as inferior or superior to him or the other person. This stress, why always needing to get to the next moment? Because I feel unfulfilled in this moment. There is something missing here in this moment. That's why I'm trying to get to the next moment. In whatever form the next moment appears. It could just be I'm trying to get this thing ready. I have to finish this work by tomorrow. I have to make a cup of tea. The me exists in a state of basic dissatisfaction and unease and lack. Therefore it seeks its own fulfillment. It comes from the past. It's a product of the past, and it's unsatisfying. And it seeks satisfaction in the future. So this is where every little me hopes to find him or herself, the completion of my life, so that my life actually begins to work. I want my life to really work well. Now it's only working in part, and there are big things that are sabotaging always my life. So you're looking for completion of the me in the future. And that's why every mind-made entity thinks of the future as more important than anything else, more important than the present moment. Because you're trying to find yourself ultimately there. Even if you need to get to the future, where you try to get the content that is still missing. According to the story of me, there's still certain content to me that's still missing. So through the future, it hopes to get this content, whatever it may be. Content could be the idea of wealth, the idea of possessions could be content. When I can move to a big house, then I will feel I've become somebody. I've expanded into the house. And when you move in for a little while, it works. You move into the big house and you look around and you seem to have expanded because you identify with this as me, content. Really, it's a mind form. It's not the house, but what the mind makes of it. So you expand into the house and then you can sit there and feel bigger. And you've made it. The expression in English is making it. Funny expression, I have made it. But that only works if others are confirming to you that you've made it. It's not enough if you tell yourself, I have made it, if nobody else agrees with you. So you need to invite others to your big house. And only when they say or imply that you have made it, then you feel, it's working. I finally arrived. And that works for a while. How long depends on the individual. It could be a few months, or a year, or 5 years. And if you're a slow learner, it could take 20 or 30 years. And you keep having dinner parties, and they're all wonderfully fulfilling. Always, they come and they admire you, and you're great, and then 40 years pass, and then gradually you look in the mirror and say, there's something wrong with this mirror. Something has changed. And then all the young and beautiful people don't come to your house anymore. They don't tell you that you've made it anymore. Well, that's for the slow learner. But usually it goes faster than that. After a year, 2, 3 years, it doesn't work anymore to give you this enhanced sense of who you are, that you need to look to the next thing. Whatever that may be. Relationship, of course, that's it. And then that works. Everybody knows about relationships, how they work. Intimate relationships. Euphoria at first. Let's wait a moment. First comes the expectation. Could he be the one or she be the one? And then comes the first dinner date. Everybody's playing this role. You can see in restaurants when couples who've only just met, you can immediately recognize them because they're acting out some part. And then the relationship starts, and then euphoria begins. You've maybe fallen in love. Can't think of anybody else. Just thinking. That's what all the pop songs, even now, many of them are still about that. Well, except the country songs, they are about the next stage. Because the country songs, as you know, they're about she's left me on a Harley and she's gone with this other guy. In the meantime, you have the euphoria, and the next stage is then when you live together, then something happens. And you wonder, did I make a mistake? One day comes this first thought. She's not supposed to behave like that. That wasn't the idea. I don't need to explain the rest. And so then, of course, you can always try another relationship. And so some people are addicted to that kind of thing, ego fulfillment, through that. And then they can't even be with one for very long because they already know it's not going to work anyway, so they already look out for the next one. So the ego believes it by adding this or that, or you may find experiences. Maybe you're done with physical things, possessions, or dinner parties, or relationships. Now I want to experience things. And then you go off on balloons around the world or whatever, because you can afford it, so you can buy any experience. You try everything. You take the mushrooms, and you go to a desert island, and you dive, and you anything, mountain climbing, and everything is explored. Live life to the fullest. And even there, you wake up in the middle of the night, and this feeling of unease and discontent and anxiety, still not it. And if you achieve everything that the world tells you you need to be fully yourself, then you're really in a bad state, because then you have no other escape anymore. If you already have everything the world tells you you need to be happy, and you're not happy, where do you go from there? And there you can go either into recognizing the falsity, the emptiness of all those things that you had identified with, or you have to just drug yourself so that you can't feel the pain anymore. And so I recently read an interview with a famous actress, and I admired her honesty, and it's not about her, it's about the human condition when I tell you this now. So she was honest and courageous enough to tell the interviewer that when she got the Oscar for film, her name is Nicole Kidman, she was sitting in this sumptuous hotel suite in Hollywood after the Oscar after she got the Oscar. She had everything the world admired. She was at every front page, and there she was. She said, I was sitting in this suite and thinking, here I am with the Oscar, and I still don't have a life. What an amazing realization. And so, of course, the life that she was looking for in the realm of content. Something to add that will complete me. And of course, as the human story goes, a few months later she met the ideal man, so suddenly she felt she had a life. And a few months later the ideal man had to go to a drug rehabilitation clinic. Oh no! Why do you always... I thought I had a life, and now the very life that I thought I had is now making me unhappy again. It's the human condition. So, if you cannot go beyond this collective conditioning of deriving your sense of who you are from the little me, which is your personal history and the conditioning, and needing the future to complete myself, to find myself, to finally make it. It doesn't work. Everybody will tell you it doesn't work, those who have made it. And as a last resort, of course, the spiritual person needs the future in order to arrive at some state that you have been told is possible to achieve. So you need to arrive at some state of, whatever you call it, liberation, enlightenment. I need to get there. I need to become that. And of course, the same mind pattern that needs the future for its projected fulfillment still operates. I need to become this or that. And again, the present moment is a stepping stone that enables me to get there, to become that. And the spiritual seeker who cannot break out of this mind pattern, deeply conditioned, remains a spiritual seeker. And for the egoic self, that too can be quite satisfying, because it loves time. So, if I could tell you that by doing this or that, in 25 years' time you will reach the state of enlightenment, the egoic self would feel quite satisfied. Oh, 25 years, I can make it, I can still make it. Unless you are 90 years old already. Give me time. Please give me time to find myself. Give me time. And so, the one vital thing is ignored, and we call that vital thing, which is not a thing, initially we call it the present moment. The very thing that the little me always tries to get away from, or that's never enough, or that's just a means to an end, or it's even made into an enemy. Get me out of here, get me out of here. Some people who have extreme forms of this dysfunction, it's a dysfunction that is operating in everybody. Some have it to a more greater extreme than others. People who embody this dysfunction to an extreme degree make the present moment habitually into their enemy. For example, their continuous contraction, they don't want to be where they are. In whatever situation they go into, they very quickly find something to complain about and to see why this is a very bad situation. Or whoever they meet, they very quickly find something to criticize about that person and immediately condemn him or her. So any situation they encounter, the little me has this particular function. In their case is it immediately criticizes, complains and judges, and this just isn't good enough. Wherever they go, they will complain and find something is wrong. And it's easy in this world, of course, to do that. All situations are enemies. Some people go to court continuously, fighting this or that. in its extreme form, you look into a person's eye and you see they're just waiting for you to say the one wrong word, and then they'll get you.